Minister, I know that you have accepted the absolutely horrendous indictment of the operational management of TUSLA in the Charlton report. And as reported, what was laid bare was a seriously disconnected nature of the service and the lack of communication, which was staggering. And could you make a statement on the matter, please?
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Deputy. It's an important question. As the chair of the tribunal, Mr. Justice Peter Shelton noted in his report, this tribunal was about calling the Gardaí to account. The recommendations of the report are mainly a matter for An Garda Síochána. A relatively small portion of the report concerns TUSLA. Although it does not make specific recommendations about TUSLA, the report does identify some very serious issues that existed in a social work office in one area at a time. Arising from the Tribunal's report, I wrote to the chairperson of TUSLA on the 6th of November 2018. In the letter, I noted the failures in the management of the referral made in respect of Garda Sergeant Maurice McCabe. I asked the board to consider what steps it would take in terms of a management response, including training, performance management, and leadership, and in terms of changing the culture of the organization to ensure that it learns from previous mistakes. I received a response from the board on the 11th of December, so this week. It addresses the issues raised in my letter, notes actions underway, and provides the basis for further consideration of these serious matters. The Deputy will also be aware of the number of issues that were identified in HICWA's statutory investigation into TUSLA's management of allegations of sexual abuse that I established in 2017 and which I published in June of this year. These issues included poor record-keeping and management, an inconsistent approach to the implementation of national policies and procedures. But following the publication of the HICWA report, TUSLA committed to a strategic action plan approved by the board. Many of the issues relevant to TUSLA, which were raised in Mr. Justice Charlton's report, are addressed in that plan. Others, which have not been covered to date, will be incorporated into the action plan once agreed by the board. So this strategic action plan has been submitted to my department and to the expert assurance group that I have established to monitor the implementations of the recommendations and advise TUSLA and my department. The group meets regularly to assess the status of the key action under its remit, and I expect that its first quarterly report will be submitted to me in the coming days.
Thank you very much, Minister. Deputy, 1 minute.
Yeah, Minister, I mean, it's fine to make those suggestions as you did. There's only one social workers' office at one area at one time. But Justice Charlton lays all that bare. And as he said, the TUSLA letter wrongly accusing Maurice McCabe was opened by his wife in January 2016. And even after all that, TUSLA were, and I quote, slow to respond to the public request for cooperation. I'm quoting from Justice Charlton. Slow to respond to the public request for cooperation by the tribunal. Statements made were laconic and indeed to the point of being mysterious. Imagine, you said that was poor management and poor leadership. But I mean, we know what we're dealing with here. The report refers to TUSLA's subsequent failure to face up to and admit its considerable failings and stupidities. This is absolutely damning stuff, Minister, and it must be treated with the utmost seriousness. This agency has incredible power, we all know. Incredible power. We see now that it was grossly mismanaged and that a whole-scale review of its entire operation is necessary. I accept that you have admitted you were, and I quote again, extremely disappointed that the tribunal found TUSLA slow to respond to public requests for cooperation, but stressed that things are changing for the better, and that you got a new report yesterday on how things are going to change. This is a number of years into the organisation, and we warned at the time to set up when so many staff were hyped off in the HSE that there was no proper planning or management put into it.
Thank you, Minister.
I appreciate the Deputy's passion about this, and I share that. And you are right to raise these questions. And it is, I mean, it is. I am really, I suppose. Just struggling here. Pleased isn't the right word, but it is good that we have this, the Tribunal's report in this regard, that complements also the HICWA statutory investigation that I raised. These are serious matters, and you know, the first thing that you said is that, you know, one of the key criticisms was the slowness of TUSLA to respond in relation to the cooperating of the Tribunal. I raised those issues directly with the board when I met them prior to the exchange of letters that I've already referred. So I share the concerns of the deputy in that regard, and I have expressed those. You also indicate that you say it's damning stuff. Indeed, it's clearly devastating in its assessment of the poor management, supervision, and record management in Tusla's Cavan Monaghan area. So I accept that as well. In the letter that the board wrote back to me, I asked them to articulate the ways in which practice on the ground is being improved, and I shall maybe come back to that in my next
Final comment.
Minister, look, poor record keeping and bad management. If this was a GA club, or this was any other club like that, an organisation, fine. But this national organisation with incredible powers, as I said, incredible powers, and devastation impacts of those powers if they're mishandled and misled as this letter was, and then after all that, no real positive replies and no rush to sort this out and to make it better, and that you have to be dragging and squeezing. So the culture, they were hived off, many of those officials, and many good officials are too, don't get me wrong. But there were so many just hived off from the HSE, set up Tusla, great day, job done, legislation passed here, and let them off with their own devices, and no proper management structures, poor management structures and bookkeeping. My question today is, how are things changing? And what has happened today to reassure us of that? And that's what we really need, reassurance that this can never happen again, because as I said, it's not a GA club, it's not a small company that has poor record keeping and gets fined by revenue. This is a national organisation with incredible powers.
Thank you. Final comment.
These are serious issues. I do share the concerns of the deputy. It is an important question. How will Tusla assure itself and myself that the practice on the ground is being improved? A key directorate of Tusla's management team is that of quality assurance. It is responsible for conducting internal monitoring and audit exercises of the different aspects of Tusla's work. It includes monitoring, auditing child protection practices to check for consistency of policy, application and social work practice, and to measure the quality of services being delivered. The quality assurance activity, including analyzing data received from all the 17 areas, they are independent of the Chief Operation Officer and report directly to the CEO. As I understand it, it has been provided with additional resources to strengthen its role and is continuing to implement that in that regard.